Hello everybody, welcome to the first ever episode of 2 Times the Grind. As you can see, we're in a brand new setup. We've got some cool stuff behind us. We're ready to start this really epic journey with you guys. We're doing podcast, whatever you guys fancy. The whole shebang.
Yes, ma'am.
What are we talking about, P? We're going to be talking about life, right?
Life, Call of Duty, Halo, Esports.
Yeah.
Probably cover pretty much everything throughout the time we do this.
It's about us. Yeah. So don't know if that's a dead giveaway with the name, but obviously we're both in esports. I'm Lottie. This is PJ. If you know us, nice to see you again. If you don't, hi.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. And yeah, we're both working in esports. I'm a host. PJ's a professional player and streamer. So we're just going to talk about what it's like to do what we do, what we think of the things that we're doing in work and our careers, and just life as well. We're just going to talk about a bit of everything, anything we want, while we sip a cup of Joe. So that's a cool thing that we're doing on the podcast, right?
Do a little cheers.
Oh yeah,
little cheers.
Little
I gotta
cheers.
go over the wire there, but
cheers.
Cheers.
We're actually going to be every week trying out a different coffee grind. This week we have a Colombian roast from Venture Weights, and fun fact, this actually was harvested 6,100 feet up a mountain. That's where the coffee bean was. So
it's pretty good.
This doesn't rise you up in the morning. I don't know what will, but we're going to be trying it out through the podcast, see what we think of it.
Big coffee fanatic, so we figured it went with the name. Might as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we'll let you know our thoughts at the end of the podcast on what we think of the coffee. So should we have a little sip?
Yeah.
I heard that in the audio.
I know.
That
sorry.
That was a perfect. Someone's going to soundbite that and use it as a sound effect.
I mean, hopefully it wasn't too loud.
It was great.
Yeah.
It's nice. Quite strong, actually.
Yeah,
isn't
it's strong but good.
Yeah. Bold. It doesn't actually specify what kind of roast it is.
It has to be like a dark roast for
it
how
has to be.
strong
It's very strong. I mean, Adventure Weights let us know if it isn't, and it's a light roast, and we're just absolute.
We're not
lightweights.
We're not coffee fanatics like we think.
we love coffee. But we've got some topics to talk about. First podcast. First one. Let's talk about what made us want to do this. Why did we want to do this podcast?
I mean, really, I think a lot of people can relate to it. You know, we work within esports. Obviously, you already said you're a host. I'm a player, streamer, and trying to be content creator. And really, our life revolves around gaming and esports, and we're talking about it nonstop. And one day, probably, I think it was a couple months ago, we're like, we had a really great discussion about something that was happening. I don't remember. And it was like, we should start a podcast.
Yeah.
And we just kind of been waiting for the right time.
We have been waiting for the right time. I think a lot of people as well have been, you know, I'm obviously in your stream every now and then, and I love your community and everybody who talks in your stream, and it's always a good time. And I think that they have started really enjoying our interactions.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to big us up or anything because we're the bomb, but I think, you know, the feedback I think we've kind of got from your stream is that they would love to see more of that. Yeah. But like in real time.
Just like social media in general. Like obviously my stream, like to what you said, obviously that happens on our stream all the time, but even just social media, you know, we get loads of messages from people. We don't share too much of our personal lives, but enough that people are somewhat interested. That sounds weird to say because I don't want to sound like I'm making
it's
a
weird,
sound bigger than we are, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's more like, we want you guys to get to know us. We want to get to know you guys. And, you know, it's funny because we sometimes like finish work. Like, so if I'll finish work, I'll finish a broadcast. And obviously we're doing it at home. But this was the same when we were traveling and stuff. Or you'd finish a tournament, vice versa, whatever happened. And like, obviously we're so involved in esports, like just our lives in general. We'd always have like our 2 cents to add to whatever we were doing. So like, I'd finish a broadcast like, oh my gosh, babe, like guess what happened? Like blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we discussed it at home and it was entertaining. And I remember just thinking like, that'd be kind of cool to talk about just in general, like how we think about things and like just say what we want, but you know, within reason, obviously. But yeah, that's why we're doing this. Yeah. So let's crack on with it. So I think we should start with COD because I know it's been a weird weekend. We've had a bit of Halo and a bit of COD, but I feel like COD right now, first season back, 100%. First week of points going on the board, and really the first like competitive taster of all of our teams.
Yeah.
So
Cold War.
Yeah.
New
Cold
game,
War.
new season.
What do you think of Cold War, actually?
I really like it. You know, MW just, I enjoyed MW. Like I think MW is really great from the competitive side. Obviously bringing in Warzone and stuff too. Cold War is way more my style for watching a competitive game. And overall, I think Treyarch does a really great job of just kind of sorting out like the weapon balancing, the spawn stuff. It's obviously never going to be perfect by professional player terms and by people in the community, I assume. But overall, I just think that Cold War is a great start to the year.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. And I think it's really nice to have 4v4 back as well. I like boots. I've always loved boots on the ground. I think it's just total preference though. That's just preference and what you prefer. I really like that.
I like both.
Yeah, I know you do because you're a Halo player and it's a little bit different. The dynamic with Halo is a little bit different from the way Call of Duty plays. But I think that it's just like, I think you can measure it on like how much you want to play personally as well. I think
100%.
obviously for me, I talk about it. So I'm not like every single day, all day grinding the game. That's just not what I do. I do it for pleasure. And we like play pubs and stuff. And I think like it's actually become quite addictive. Yeah. Like how many times I've been like, do you want to play pubs with me?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to play?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's I think a measurement of how much I enjoy the game anyway, because I just want to play it all the time. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Cold War. I'm really enjoying the maps. Well, nice to have raid back.
The fact that you can finish a hard day broadcast or rehearsal or anything like that, and then you still want to play the game after.
That's what makes you want to play the game.
Or it makes you want to play. That's when you know it's off to a good start of a brand new game. Because I think a lot of times it's probably the opposite for a lot of people. Yeah. Not necessarily people working in esports, but I'm sure like a lot of people will watch and be like, oh, that's enough for me for the day. But you know, in both of our cases, I feel like it's very much, I mean, how many times I'm the same as you, we watch it and we're like, let's go play some Call of Duty.
Yeah, that is genuinely how it goes sometimes. I think that's definitely a good measurement of like how much you enjoy it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really liking it. What do you think of the competitive maps? Because obviously we have like revamps of maps, we have raid back and stuff. What do you think of some of the size differences? Like we have obviously like Garrison, we have Checkmate, obviously Checkmate being very small and enclosed in a different type of lane system to some of the other ones. I feel like it's more punishing. So what are your like thoughts on that?
I think bringing in raid was a really good step in the right direction, because initially I just thought some of the maps were just too small. Not like necessarily too small, but there were a lot of the same. You know, you have Crossroads, you have Garrison. I feel like they play different, but slightly-ish the same style. I think bringing on raid, it just brings in a different mix. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of great maps, but the problem, I don't want to say problem, but with the veto system in competitive Call of Duty, if you don't have raid in there, you run the risk of seeing a lot of the same maps. So raid, perfect mix to what the maps already were, and then hopefully they're going to maybe add new. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will definitely see.
Call of Duty usually add more maps?
Don't tend to.
Like last season,
I don't think they added anything last season. So okay. I don't know if it's like that's something that's normal. I think it'd be kind of tricky because think about it. You start your competitive season. Yeah. And you've had a couple months to try and get used to the game and to learn it, and then to throw a new map in mid-season with no break to be able to learn that map cohesively as a team.
Yeah, there's no like
would that
off
not
time.
Be difficult?
It would be difficult, especially with Call of Duty. Because the reason why I ask is Call of Duty is very different to Halo. You'll have like
you have off time.
And that's when like game types are changing, and there's map type rotations and stuff like that. Call of Duty, it's very much, especially with the league structure, it's constant throughout the whole year. It would definitely be hard to like take stuff out or add stuff in.
I think so as well. It's I probably don't. I would say it doesn't happen, just logically, I'm sure.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
No, I can't either. Right, opening weekend though, so we need to talk about what we saw. I know that you were playing tournaments, and we've kind of the past couple of days been, you know, sitting down with you, watching a few of like, we've been doing VOD reviews, people. We've been doing some VOD reviews.
Take it serious.
Taking notes. So I think it's more like, what's your overall thought of it? So you've obviously saw the results. We were doing our pick'ems together. Yeah. What did you make of it overall? Any shockers for you?
There were a couple shockers. We'll dive into the matches in a little bit. Overall, I love the format change from the first season of CDL to second. Having that major, having Pro League matches. I don't know if it's technically called Pro League, but Halo terms, Pro League matches into a major where I think everyone is playing at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Really awesome to see. I enjoy just the competitive format in general. And even though, I'm over here playing a Halo tournament, there's enough downtime where I get to still watch it. And for me, I love when games just have loads of content to consume over the course of a season.
Yeah.
Something, we'll talk about it later on in the podcast or another episode that Halo lacks.
Mm-hmm.
But for Call of Duty, every day you have something to watch, something to look forward to. I like that for an esport.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do too. I love the way that Call of Duty has things at the moment with the league. I can't comment too much just because of my position.
Absolutely.
But just know, big fan, love it. And I think it makes every game interesting. It makes every match interesting. Every match counts. Obviously, you have the point system, but then the point system towards the end of the majors does dictate your seeding in the major. I think that's really important. And obviously, we had the really cool system where our teams got to choose their groups as well, which was really cool based on seeding from last year.
That was cool.
Yeah,
that was
really dope. And the video, can I just say, in broadcast
Yeah.
was so funny and so good.
Yeah.
I just liked having, I thought they did it really well, like having everybody on a call and like a representative of each team there. And they had a bit of fun with it.
It was different and like fun, and a lot of them know each other, and it makes for good content.
I love how it went down the line because they did it in a snake format. The last person, Octane, was like, well, why am I even here?
Yeah.
And I was like, poor Serge.
Yeah, everything's
but
picked for him.
Doing all right this time around. Not bad. I actually got to interview Sam, Octane.
Because they won.
Because they actually won. And he said to me before the interview as well, he was like, this feels really weird.
It's been a while.
Being
it's been a while
on
since
the
they
winning
got
end of an interview. And I was like, enjoy it, man. Lap it up. Let's talk big time.
Mm-hmm.
He was
there were
really
a lot
happy.
of good. There were a lot of good matches and some upsets that people might probably predict. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Might probably predict, and some that you didn't see coming.
I did not see. I love ROKKR and I love Dallas. I love all of our teams. I really do, and I'm a big fan of all of them. But there's times where you don't expect stuff to happen, or you base, from what we've seen so far, just stats wise and stuff, Empilot unstoppable. Yeah. And I really didn't think ROKKR was the team to stop them, just because of the way that they came into the league and they hadn't been performing. I think they played LA Thieves, didn't they?
LA, yeah.
And I just was like, oh well, if they can't beat LA Thieves coming into this matchup, it's not going to happen. I mean, crazy.
It's crazy. It's safe to say that too, because with the league structure, that's how people are going to make predictions. That's how you can assume who's going to win, who isn't. Because when you watch LA beat ROKKR, and you in your head are thinking, oh, Empire is probably better than LA at the moment. Yeah. And then Empire
you think about it, don't
and then
you?
Empire is playing ROKKR, you're like, oh, Empire's got this.
You just you try and think about it logically, especially at the beginning of the season and for pick'ems, because I've been taking that so seriously, and I made such a big error with my pick'ems.
I know.
The other day, I was so upset. So how you can, I know, you can change them. There's like a timer. There's a time limit before the day starts. Basically, you can change them up until the start of the day, like 3 p.m. I'm pretty sure. It might be slightly before that, but I think it is up till 3. And I was like, no, I think Serge are going to do this. Yeah. Like, love you, London. Love you, UK. Appreciate you so much, homeland. But I think Serge could do it. So I changed. I even came in before PJ started streaming and starting his tournament. I said, look, I'm going with Serge, man. I'm going with Serge. And he was like, sure.
Because we talked about it earlier on.
We talked about it at breakfast.
Yeah.
Trust me, our whole day is made up of COD. Like, it is. And I was like, I'm going to go with Serge. Yeah. 3-2
because London is a question mark.
Yeah,
with playing with Parasite again. No offense to him, but
honeymooning potentially as well.
I thought they could either come out and 3-0 him, like 3-0 Surge, just honeymooning and playing amazing, or it's like you just don't have your actual fourth, so you don't know how it's gonna go.
Well, I went in before my broadcast during my rehearsal, changed my pick'ems to 3-2 Surge. And I didn't click the green button right at the top saying save predictions, and I had no idea the whole time. So through the whole match, I was so happy. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, like, thank God, like, so happy. I was gleaming from ear to ear. And when I went to my pick'ems to go and rack up my points,
user error,
I was left in devastation. I had still got 3-2 London on the card, so I got 0 points. I actually came in, and you were about to start, weren't you?
Yeah,
I forced you to not start for a second to tell you how upset I was. I was. Do you know what the worst part about it is as well?
What's that?
I was doing really well up until that point.
Yeah.
Granted, I missed the game for your marquee match double points the day before. Fine, whatever.
Which one was
that? It was the bigger match. Oh, what was it? It's too many matches.
Thieves, subliners.
Yes, these subliners. And yeah, missed that entirely. Thought it was going to be subliners. Wasn't. That's a different story. But to then get no points for the match I knew, and I would have got 3, I was so upsetting. And then later on in the broadcast, they bring up our leaderboard, our talent leaderboard. No. And I had to grit and smile through it, and I was fuming. I could have cried. I was so annoyed.
You should have took the time to, on broadcast, explain what happened.
Well, the thing is, like, this is something you don't understand in broadcast. Like, there's a lot of people in chat who are like, hurry up. Oh, you have no idea how fast we have to talk. Yeah. Like, we have to fill a little bit of time. Like, that's the whole point of having our game breaks. Yeah. We entertain you while we are waiting. It's either that or a black screen with some numbers on it counting down. So we try and entertain you and stuff. But I'm not joking. I have to summarize a point so quickly. Yeah. It may not seem like that to you, but I have to get out what I have 50 notes on in like a sentence, and same with Mr. X when he's on, same with Enable, anyone. We have to literally like summarize very quickly. It's really hard to do that because you want to explain why you're thinking that way. And then
you take the time. Yeah. You take the time, you're watching every match, you do the research, you have all these statistics to back up. And then, as long as there's no tech problems, you really want to at the same time get it to the match as soon as you can. So
yeah, it can be really hard sometimes, but hey, it's all fun and games, isn't it? It's all fun and games.
You could talk on the podcast as long as you need. Break down everything.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna say everything I want to say now. Okay. Let's talk about the games like in general. I think. Yeah. So Dallas versus ROKKR. We've kind of already said a little bit about that, but let's actually get in depth with it. From what I saw, that there's not many reasonings of why this happened and why the upset happened or occurred, but I remember obviously the first part there was a bit of an issue with the game. We won't go into it too much, but we had to have a restart. A server issue, nothing major in terms of like cheating or anything, nothing like that, just a bit of a server issue. Had to start the game, but they were smoking them. Dallas were smoking
at the start.
ROKKR. It was like 150 to 2.
I didn't see the initial beginning. Yeah. Were they playing? Like ROKKR were playing?
Yeah, they were playing. Yeah, they were playing. Yeah, they were all 4. I'm pretty sure all 4 were playing. I think what was happening was every single person, so not just one team, both teams were like, occasionally you'd see somebody running in the same place, but then they'd continue, or a bit of stuttering. Just things didn't seem quite right.
Did ROKKR win the replay of game 1?
I can't remember.
I thought Empire...
no, they didn't win the replay.
Okay, so Empire wins game 1.
Yeah, Empire did win game 1, but it was close.
Much closer.
Yeah, it was much closer. And that kind of started your, thinking process like, wait, hold on a second. Yeah.
Ideally,
this could be an upset.
They should... Empire, you think they'd continue probably smoke them on the again. Empire.
Yeah, and that was the first inkling of like something might go wrong here. And then obviously like S&D is where it really broke down for them. Yeah. That's where it really went wrong. So it was interesting just to see kind of like ROKKR's reaction to like winning. It meant everything to them. Like they were so happy with that because it cemented them as potentially one of the top teams. But the question is like, can they do it again? So from what you've seen from them, what do you think?
It's interesting because I would still have Empire. I still hold Empire to really a high standard. Yeah. It was a really weird series, and I think what it comes down to is that they lost both S&Ds, if I'm not all right.
Yeah, they
won
did,
both. They lost both S&Ds, and with Empire, I'm not necessarily worried that S&D is going to be a weak point. Like when I think back to last season, I wasn't like, ooh, this is a weak game type for them. They have Rambo coaching them, Shotzi, Illy, Hugh, even Krim, all amazing S&D players. I think that really though what it showed is just how close a lot of these teams are. LA beats ROKKR. Yeah. Then ROKKR beats Empire. It's just showing how tight the competition is. So I wouldn't be like, I'm super concerned for Empire. Yeah. But at the same time, it just, I guess, gives me some hope that there can be a lot of upsets throughout the entire season.
I mean, it's interesting because it happened already, quite a bit. And it's funny because you wouldn't think it would be a big upset the first week of the season. But that's how hot Dallas came out of the game right away. Like they weren't just winning the games. They were literally smoking.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing for
and
the
everything
teams
else
playing.
went pretty routine. Like every game up until that day went pretty routine.
I'm literally just bringing up the game and the match details, so just to tell you guys for context. So so this is how game
close.
Game 5s went, right? So ROKKR lost the first hard point, checkmate, 201 to 250.
Okay.
Then we had S&D Moscow, and ROKKR won that 6-3, so pretty good. S&D was looking pretty strong. Like, they didn't get past half points, so that's pretty good, holding off their own there.
Yeah.
ROKKR 3-2 on control. Garrison, it was Garrison for the rest. Shocker, we see Garrison all the time.
All three Garrison.
3-2 control. So ROKKR won that control. That was actually really interesting control.
Yeah. I didn't get to watch it, but that's what it is. Like with these top teams, like, you know, you'd still rank Empire above ROKKR, right? We agree on that. But that's what it is. That's what's so tough with search and destroy. If you can just sneak a respawn on a team and you're good you're good at S&D, you got in a best of 5, you got a really great chance at winning.
It was like, if you actually look at everything, so ROKKR lose first hard point, win S&D, win control. Yeah, they're already then, even though they've lost the first game, they're already 2-1 up. Yeah, which is so big. If you can win that middle, that control in the middle, that's ideal.
You're not sitting there panicked because you're up 2-1. You're up 2-1 in the series. Yeah, you go into a hard point to the underdog. You're sitting there going, if we win this, great. Yeah. But we got it to a game 5 no matter what. That's what you need to do as the underdog. Yeah,
and if you're really good at S&D, like, obviously it doesn't top and tail it, but in a way it does, because if you do lose that first hard point, that first respawn, if you can win both of your S&Ds and you know that you can kind of win that control, which is... Control is like, for people who don't know, it's like a really nice merge of both. Yeah. So it's like respawn with S&D merged together, made a baby. Love child of S&D and
I love control,
hardpoint and stuff. So it's, if you're good at S&D, naturally you're pretty good at control. Like if you can merge your respawns with your S&D game, then you're naturally pretty good at control. So that, to win that middle one is huge. I think ROKKR actually, I don't know what their plan was, if that was their plan. They knew they were coming up against ROKKR. Dallas, you have the schedule. Yeah. So if you know that you can try and win at those points, that's a really smart way to go about it.
Yeah. I mean, because if you flip the script a little bit and Empire go up 2-0, you're probably not beating them if you go up 2-0.
No, because you're going to lose that hard point.
You're going to lose either game 3 or you're going to lose game 4. Yeah. And that's why winning S&D is huge. Yeah. And you saw it through a lot of...
And OpTic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want to dive right into that or not, but not? I mean, we could talk about that next, but it's exactly the same thing. And not necessarily FaZe versus OpTic. I wouldn't necessarily say there's an underdog to that matchup at the moment.
No, not at all. Well, you're figuring it out. That match is literally figuring it out.
Yeah. But it shows you why S&D is so important.
Yeah, I think heading into the OpTic match, which we'll just talk about next, I got a question for you, as a player. So, something I noticed out of both games. Okay.
Halo and Call of Duty.
Both games. Yeah, both games. Gotcha. So, ROKKR, Empire, and OpTic, FaZe. Gotcha. So, how does this work? And tell me if this is just a coincidence. But I did notice that on the Empire game, Shotzzy wasn't performing very well, and Crim wasn't performing very well. Okay. They didn't across most of the games. They just didn't perform well. In the OpTic game, Scump wasn't there for the first 3 maps, basically wasn't there. And that was really difficult to watch because it just wasn't happening. And at one point, Formal also, I think it was an S&D, Formal wasn't performing very well either. How much do you think that plays into losing something like, the S&Ds, the control?
Yeah. I mean,
for both teams.
Yeah. If you're not so for Empire versus ROKKR, who'd you say? Shotzzy wasn't playing his best and Crim wasn't playing the best. I'd still say that's a matchup. Even if you're not playing your best, the Empire probably looks to win no matter what. Okay, right? Even
though they're being outslayed like madness.
Not because if they're being outslayed really hard, it's going to be hard to win. But again, you're still figuring it out. They're the better. You would assume they're the better team. Mm-hmm. They're going to figure out a way to pull out the series. Crim, Shotzzy might not be playing their best, but they're still making the crucial plays to win the game against a team that should technically be ranked under them. FaZe versus OpTic is a tough one because that's a potential like finals matchup. You know, you could see both those teams being first, being second, with a couple other teams. If you're not performing your best against your toughest competition, it's going to be really hard to win because ideally, at least the other team is hoping all 4 of them are playing lights out as well.
Yeah. And I think like especially with OpTic, because I feel like Dallas could have won.
Yeah.
They could have won. Like it's obviously the S&D is different. The final S&D score was 6-2.
Yeah.
That's pretty much like a beating. But, you know, looking at the hard points and I mean, the control 3-2, super, super close. Yeah. I feel like they could have won it. It's kind of difficult to say and judge. But with OpTic, I just didn't see it happening. Like you could kind of tell things were falling apart.
OpTic's tough because they could have won. Yeah. But so the OpTic situation is a little bit different for me at least because they could have won. Yeah. They had game 4 almost wrapped up. Yeah. And so even though Scump and Formal weren't playing good, and if they're looking at that series, they're even being like, okay, we almost won when we weren't playing our best. Yeah. They almost won it. The problem with OpTic is that in my opinion and what I've seen, and you know, you can go back to multiple different titles, Search and Destroy just isn't their strong suit.
Well, I know they've literally said it, and we've said it countless times. Yeah. They're notorious for having a poor Search and Destroy game.
And that's when you're going up against, you know, the league is condensed to 4.
Poor, but
it's still, they probably still have a winning. They still have a winning record, probably not at the moment, but normally they have a winning record. But when you're going up against like Atlanta FaZe, and ideally every game type could go anyway, you're putting a lot on your respawns to have to beat the Atlanta FaZe in 3 respawns. Yeah. Because, I mean, the chances of that 100% happening isn't very likely.
Yeah, I mean, I was also wondering this as well. There's so many questions for you as a player. Just want to get into your mind, really. Just
feel free.
Feel it out. So another thing that I do as well before work and heading into a Call of Duty League week is I go and like check out players' social medias, their YouTube channels, especially the orgs. Yeah. See what they're up to, because like usually the orgs and stuff have really good content and interviews, like all of them. One in particular, obviously shout out OpTic, because OpTic have a fantastic content team. They have a great routine. They have tons of stuff that give like insight into their team.
Crush it.
Always. So it's really, really good. So I was watching the OpTic pre-show heading into the week. And I noticed that Hex threw to a round table of him and the boys. And it was interesting because Scump actually said then that they weren't good at S&D. So, like, I suppose, like, what my question is, you know, already kind of knowing that you're not good at S&D, you're notorious, in quotes, for being bad at S&D. Like, it's been such a long time that you've had that reputation. It's not been your best game type. How much of that then affects you? Like it's in your head that you're not a good S&D team, and you're not improving because you're not letting yourself improve as a team. Yeah.
Well, so I think that there's a big difference. There's 2 clarifications when it comes to a team's game types and a team's game types potential, and that's, are you not good at it? Or like, are you bad at it, or are you not as good at it as your other game types? Right. So in OpTic's case, you know, it's okay to not be as good at S&D as you are your hard points. They're a respawn heavy team. They always have been. And even if you go back to when they were winning nonstop events to like AW and, you know, those events going forward, their S&D was known for being worse than the respawns, but they were still clutching up in game 5s all the time and winning. If going into this season, you know, Scump is saying our S&D is bad, then that's obviously a major concern that they need to fix, because when they go into a game 5 against FaZe, they 100% have it in the back of their minds. Yeah. We're not good at this. We need to we need to pull something out to get this win.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Because like, how much do you think, honestly, like as a player yourself, like, you know, I'm going to gas them up because I can. No. But you are like, to me, like, not even as your girlfriend, like, you are one of the greatest of all time. Like, you are what a definition of a GOAT is.
In Halo.
And I say that because I know you don't like me saying it like solidified, like you are the best. Yeah. But you are one of the greatest of all time. You are, because you look at your track record. We can get into this later on.
That's another
we'll talk about it. It's a totally different topic. But like, to anybody who has any this is kind of any sense.
Stop.
You look at your track record, the stats don't lie. Regardless of that, different topic, different time. You know, how much does you getting into your own head and then as a team collectively, how much does that genuinely affect your game? Not just about, let's just not even talk about S&D for a second, but just in general, all sorts of things, like silly little things maybe as well. How much of it does that honestly get into your head and affect you?
So you're just saying about, like, basically you're asking, like, how much was, like, you need to have a strong mental game. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It could be anything, like superstitions, you know, not something just not going your way. Like something could be really bothering you for something very small, but just mentally, you know, it's like not a big deal, but
it's 100% a factor into anything that you do. And that's why great teams always seem as though they're best friends inside a game, outside a game, and they don't have like any personal tension, because if you have personal tension and you bring it in, you're going to have along the way we'll have a problem. And so what you're saying of superstition and stuff like that, you 100% can perform worse in a game type if it's on your mind, we're not good at this. So, you know, as a player, you just want to be confident going into it no matter what. And you just don't want to have that stuff in your mind. It just 100% doesn't, it should be, even if you're going game 5, round 11, full confidence, we're going to win this.
Yeah. Also another question. I'm so interested in stuff like as a player's mentality. Because obviously I've never competed in esports, but I have competed in a different field, in actual sport. So what about...
Best lacrosse player, best female lacrosse player in Europe, no big deal.
Never mind. We won't even get into it, but yeah, at one point.
Slight flex.
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah.
How, like, for example, like we talk a lot about on broadcast and just in general about team dynamic and chemistry and being cohesive, because to be honest, if you're going to be a good team, you need to be a unit, and I feel like Dallas Empire have that kind of down at one point or another, and definitely to bring them over the line of champs last season. Okay, let's say you're on a team, because you might have had this as well, like, you know, you've been on many teams,
long time.
Okay, what happens when you're on a team and a player, or maybe some players, are doing things like in game or like near you? It could be either in game or literally physically next to you when you're playing on stage or something that really bothers you. Have you ever had that where it really, and you're like, I literally, that's just the way that they are. Like maybe that's just something that they just do and they can't control it, but it literally bothers you so much. Have you ever had that?
Yeah. Well, like,
you're gonna tell us it?
I mean, like, I don't care. I mean, it's like, you know, it's kind of known. Like, I team with Elamite and Strongside. I mean, you know them both, so it makes it funnier.
Carl?
But they both, they're movers. Like when they play, they're like this, like, and you're like, I do that. Yeah, when you're competing, like it didn't like bother me. Like I didn't play bad because of it or anything like that.
How much of a mover are we talking?
Like Kyle is like, looks like he's about to headbutt his monitor sometimes, and Mike like when I teamed with him, he was way less of it. But if you go back to like videos of him in like 07, Strongside would like lean back, and then like he'd be like this. So like, you know, if you're sitting next to him, like all of like, you know, you can obviously see. So like different people will say different things. It never bothered me. I'm focused in game, and in game stuff. I think
Kyle.
Yeah, I like the out of game stuff is way more noticeable. Well, the out of game stuff is way more acceptable because you can't really do anything.
It's just someone's take.
Exactly.
Yeah. In
game, that's where having a strong leader in game of fixing maybe someone's bad tendencies and breaking bad habits. That's they're kind of like two different things, honestly.
Yeah. Like, okay, this is like a weird comparison, but it's the only way I know like how to comparison to ask you. So like in lacrosse, like spoiler, I used to be a lacrosse player for a long time, professional. I used to do a thing where, if any of you guys play lacrosse, you'll understand, but it's like a comfort, right? It's like a crutch. It's like something comfortable. I used to like twiddle my stick around a lot. I used to do it without the ball in there. I used to do it just like walking around. It's just something I used to do. How do you fix that on a team in game if there's something that somebody does and it's like it's very unnecessary, but it's something that is like it works for them because it's like a comfort in game? I don't know really how to like translate that, and like I don't know what would be the kind of the same thing.
So I think that,
but what do you do?
So I think that like if I can kind of relate it to you so you understand it. If you were obviously playing lacrosse and your coach saw you were doing that, right? Yeah. Did they ever try to change it?
Yeah.
Okay. So they tried to change it. Why did they try to change it? Because it was a negative?
if sometimes like if you had the ball in your stick, the ball could drop out.
Yeah.
It's like it's a risk, I suppose, if you have the ball in your stick. I wouldn't do it as much with the ball in my stick. I can't train myself not to. But with that, like when it's out of your stick, it's more like just it makes, I think like what they would say to me is it makes you look nervous.
Okay.
Like it makes you look more nervous. That's
why
I guess it's like a bit different though.
Okay, so I was hoping for a different answer than you gave me. That you just say no, because obviously you were really good. So like I didn't think a coach would try to change it.
At that point, well, to be honest, like it was at the beginning when I first did it.
But
when they noticed
later
it was
on,
like whatever.
Yeah,
okay. Like, she doesn't drop it, it's fine.
So that's the answer I was looking for. Because when you're on a team, you can try to change something like that. But if it works, don't change it. And if you want to change it slightly, change it slowly, to where just over time you're breaking a habit. To take it an extreme, like, hey, you can't do this anymore, when it's something that a player could have been doing for 6 years. That's it'll ruin. It could almost like ruin a player. You? Yeah, if it bothers the other player.
Yeah.
You got to be like mentally tough yourself and just kind of deal with it. It just depends on what it is, and it depends on whether or not it's actually impacting your game. Like, like, okay, like strong side and Elamite, they moved, right? Like they moved outside.
Yeah.
It didn't impact the game. So for me, it was just one of those, that's them, that's your team. You just got to kind of roll with it and deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's just about, I think like, it's just got to be mentally tough yourself with it.
Okay. It's like a question answering session here. It's like our first ever interview when we first met. Another question. Okay. Based on like similar kind of things, but like furthering it now a little bit more. We've talked about like coaches a little bit. Mm-hmm. First of all, in sports, I feel like the coaching system in traditional sports is quite intense. So for example, like when I was on the team, what my coach said goes. Yeah. Like that is what we would do. Mm-hmm. If they brought us off for a quick timeout and we're like, this is the play we're making, that was the play we're making without a doubt. That was it. Obviously, like you have to adapt based on the other team and what they're doing in the right way, but you still try and execute that plan. Mm-hmm. In esports, coaches, how much of like a genuine kind of authority do they have? Do you think, how much authority do you think they actually need? Yeah. And like, obviously in game, it's quite fast paced for gaming. And I know sport is, but it's just a little different. Mm-hmm. But do you think that esports teams could use that kind of authority in terms of like plays and tactics and stuff? Or do you think it's more to do with the team and the IGL? Yeah. So I think that esports, it's been a change in esports. Coaches used to not really be super significant. You go to an event and you just kind of like have your friend coach you and like call out some times for you. But now it's different. And, coaches are paid an actual salary to do an actual like literal, they're going to try to help your team improve. I think the biggest thing with coaches in esports, and something maybe orgs can take from this, you need to get a coach that fits your team. Empire, for example, I'm going to reference them because they're kind of the standard of last year. They went and got Rambo. Rambo is very tactical. He looks at analytics and he can help the team in that regard. Yeah. But on the same token of that, Empire brought on the right person because Krim and Shotzi and Hugh and Clayster and Illy, they were like okay with that. Right. If you bring in a coach who's going to go against like the IGL and the team and what they think, it's just not going to be a benefit. So coaches are super beneficial, but it's about what kind of coach do you need to be for those players. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a hard dynamic, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's also different styles. It is different styles, isn't it? Because you guys, you've always had Chris as like your coach. We had Wes and then Chris. Yeah. And actually, we've had Chris for quite a long time now. Chris for all of Halo 2 anniversary. Then Wes for like 6 months of Halo 5, and then Chris for the rest of it. Royal so 1 in the clutch and properly 2. Yeah. Do like quite top career. Yeah. But it's different, isn't it? So what was the difference between Wes and Chris? Do I want to go there? Wes gives way more insight because Wes is a professional player. Right. Chris is way more of, he is a reminder. Like, so Wes was like, I think you guys should be doing this. You're not doing this correctly. Right. Give or take, he was never super harsh with it because we do it amongst ourselves enough. Suggestion. And Chris, aka Royal 1, is way more of, he'll listen to what we say. Yeah. And then we give him reminders like before the game, being like, Chris, make sure we're small talking. Make sure we're going for power. Yeah. Like, so when he's in game, when we're in game, he'll be like,
make sure we're doing this. And that's his style.
What works better? I know it's a really tough question, and I mean no disrespect to either.
Yeah, I think it just depends. We coach amongst ourselves a lot. Like between Matt, Frosty, and myself, we kind of break everything down.
Yeah.
So I think Chris's style works better, but at the same time, like I think having Wes there at the start of Halo 5 is probably a good thing, because we were also going at the very start of Halo 5. We were going through a team change. Okay. You know, we picked up Frosty instead of Cloud, and then we picked up Lethal instead of OKKR 2. I think having Wes there probably even helped us get a little bit quicker on the same page,
right,
compared to like if we had Chris, who might give less insight.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just very interested, because like I knew it was the same for me. Like I love how I'm just like mixing esports with lacrosse here, but it's the only way like that I can, you know, like, you do something for so long and it's something that you constantly compare to, you know, and again, like it helps me with my competitive nature and mindset and stuff that I kind of revert back to lacrosse. But it's just interesting to like compare the two and like how, you know, how good coaches really are for esports teams, and like what different teams need and different people. And I think you could even go deeper and say like maybe two players on your team or half of your team really like this coaching style, and the other half might not like that coaching style, might like the other. Like it's kind of difficult.
I imagine that coaches now in Call of Duty, I can only really comment when it comes to coaches on Call of Duty and Halo, because that's what I relate to the most. Games like League of Legends have had coaches for a while way more advanced than anything Halo has had. So Call of Duty is getting more advanced than Halo even is. But I think that what coaches are probably finding themselves is that you have to speak differently to different people.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, related back to sport, people are coached very differently. So you might be able to take harsh criticism and, you know, be told to go do 1,000 sprints because you messed up, whereas another player might not be able to take that and still perform to the highest capability.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah. So talking about individual players, and this can go for COD and Halo together combined, and can go for many different esports actually. Where is the line of, on a team, being like that superstar, that individual player that people are looking at and looks really good and does like crazy things and pulls it off? Where's the line end where you're doing that, or you then go too far and mess up? Like, how do you feel about that as somebody on a team? I feel like being too flashy. Yeah, I wouldn't say you're a flashy player.
Yeah.
I think you naturally end up being flashy just because you're really good, and the things that you do are so high level and they are required to win games. I think that's like what you do really well, is like you do a lot of things where you fill the gaps.
Yeah.
You know, like you.
Thanks.
And that's really important, because you might not have certain players that are doing that, and I think you fill the gaps really, really well. But like, where is that line between a player who might take it a step too far and mess things up? Like, how do you deal with that in a team dynamic? Like, how do you then not coach it out, but discuss it?
It's about having a mutual respect on a team. And, you know, I can easily relate this to Frosty. When we first got Frosty in Halo 5, he was by far the most individually talented player I've seen. He abused the mechanics more than anything I've seen. I'm sure like Call of Duty, you're looking at, you know, Shotzi, Huke, Illy, a lot of these Simp, a lot of these kids are coming on and they are literally breaking the game. So I think that like a lot of experienced players just figure out a way to let them be themselves, but reel it in to play around your team. So we would let Frosty be Frosty, but he'd do a couple things where you're like, no, like we can't do that. That doesn't work. You can do this, you can't do that.
Okay.
And luckily for us with him, he just soaked in so much information, and he also
did it like plateau. So it got to a point where you're explaining stuff to him. Like, obviously he was young, and then it gets to a point where you're just like, you know, you're like, oh, you actually, you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
like, you know when to turn it on. You know when to draw it back.
Within the first couple months, it was literally a couple months of that. And really, it's more so you got to be on the same page.
Yeah.
So even though he's capable of that, we might not be okay with him doing that because it messes with someone else's gameplay. So Frosty turned into one of the best IGLs I think you'll see across any game. You know, even with Halo, he really is one of the more vocal people with me on our team.
Yeah.
And then, you could maybe interview one day him or something, and I'm sure he was probably a vocal leader for Florida the same way.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. Okay, so I think this has naturally transitioned into Halo. So we're going to discuss a little bit of Halo. Obviously, on the weekend we had a couple of different Halo tournaments happening. We had Halo 5, we had Halo 3. You played in both of them because you're one talented guy. So discuss it with me. What happened? Talk to me. Because I obviously wasn't there.
Yeah, so it went almost perfect. Got second in the Halo 5 thing and got first in the Halo 3 thing. It went good. Yeah. I'm just trying to stay sharp for Infinite. It's a weird time for Halo, and we'll talk about it with Infinite and stuff, but you care, but you don't at the same time, because when you're playing, you want to win. You're trying so hard to compete and you want to play at the highest level.
Yeah.
So for this Halo 5 stuff, it's like I want to play in it, but then when we lose it, it's like that stinks, but there's next week.
Yeah.
Compared to when you're at an actual event, it'll break your heart losing. It'll devastate you for days, and then you got to go back and do the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting time. Gaming, like Halo right now, it's not really much about practicing. It's just about staying sharp, which is really different to what I like about Halo. I like the everyday practice and I like the grind, no pun intended, and having your team feel like you're improving to be better than everybody else.
Yeah, you're trying to reach, you got goals.
Yeah, where now now it's kind of like you're doing the same old, and the goal is the same for everyone, but there's just not that everyday goal, which personally I really like.
Yeah, it can be really tough, and obviously like we live together, we our lives are very much intertwined like that, and I do feel like it's hard for you because I feel like you're very competitive. The team is competitive, and I think it's just naturally like that just because of the success that you guys have had, and that's also goes for the rest of the teams that are involved in the Halo franchise and how that
it's
works.
Not just us feeling that way.
It's everybody feels that, and I think that's voiced a lot on social media. But you know what, I just got to say, like, I know that there are a lot of negatives out there. I know that things can always be done better. That's for everything. But I got to say, I feel like Halo, and not just Halo, not just HCS, but them included, and other platforms and other production teams and tournament organizers are doing a good job at still trying to keep that community alive, trying to keep that fire burning. Putting on these tournaments. I know, like, what, Halo 3 is like 12 years old?
Yeah, something like that.
Halo 5 is getting old
probably
too.
more than
Halo 5
like 14 years.
A few grey hairs now. A few greys. Maybe glasses in the next year. Not
watch it.
Old.
I was gonna say watch it.
All right. They're cute.
Thank you.
They're really cute. But getting on, these games are old, and I think they're doing a good job of trying to still like keep that recycling going, keep it fun.
Yeah.
And it's great. Money is on the line still. There's still money
Something
to be made. And obviously it's not been the most ideal of times with coronavirus, the pandemic. But the fact that people are still willing to try and keep that churning, keep that going is fantastic. Yes, things can improve always. That's with everything and anything. There's always improvements to be made. And I think, that is known to them as well. But
hopefully
good things on the horizon, and it's difficult to keep up that competitive streak and that like fire in your belly, because you want something new to compete with, and it's hard because I think for you guys especially, and like you said, you lose and you're like, oh well. And like, you wouldn't normally be like that.
No.
It's just not, that's not normal or natural for you guys.
No, not at all. And I don't want to like downplay it, because obviously, I go downstairs and like punching the air, like of how frustrated I am about like how annoying, like, console is, or like, whatever complaint I can have that day.
Yeah.
Of why it might.
That's normal.
But
Everyone's
so it's not like I just don't care. Like clearly I do. Yeah. But it's hard to stay super competitive and in that competitive mindset. And, this season 2 of the Pro Series, I'm pushing myself to, try to compete in everything I can for that exact reason of I'm going to make sure that I'm as competitive as possible heading into Infinite. Whereas the first Pro Series, I was just super frustrated with everything, as I think a lot of people are. Yeah. And was way more on the complaint side. And I just didn't like, me better than anyone. I just don't like remaining in a negative mindset.
I know you don't. I remember you coming up to me. He came up to me one day. You literally came up to me and you said, am I tweeting too negatively?
Yeah.
And I said, like, you know, no and yes.
Yeah.
Like, look, it's your platform.
Yeah.
It's your social media. You should be able to voice your opinion, say what you want to say. And if things aren't going the way that you want them to go, or you have a feeling or emotion about that, you should be able to express that. And I think it's also warranted.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough time. Like, you know, obviously there's terrible things happening in the world around us. And the one thing that you love to do, it's unfortunately, it's just not happening right now. Like, you know, you've been, how long have you been waiting for it to come out? Such a long time.
Since 2018, November of 2018.
So it's like, you know, it's like waiting on that delivery. You know, you've bought something off Amazon and you really want it, and it hasn't come.
You bought the Prime, and
you're looking at you know, the tracking.
Yeah.
And it keeps getting
It
delayed.
says it's in your city, but it's not there.
Yeah, and it keeps rotating around. No, but you know, it's understandable why you feel that way, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But I understand why you came up to me and asked that question.
The thing with being like too negative too, like I've said, I had a different approach going into this season, obviously with trying to be so competitive. I'm just trying to enjoy it more, because last season, the problem is I understand being, you know, the time that we're in with COVID and we're not getting to play the new game, and everyone feels the same way, but I want things to be ran correctly.
Yeah.
And things have gotten better, but they're not perfect.
Right.
And when it comes to competing in a 13-year-old game, and a 5-year-old game or something like that in 2021, there's no reason for it to not be perfect. It's pretty simple, you know? So that's where the frustration really got into. And I've just been trying to get better of flowing with the punches and not wasting, I don't want to say wasting my energy, but just bringing negative energy. Because I want to remain excited. I want to love to compete.
I know.
And when it just feels like constant negatives, like you just can't win. Even though we were winning, like for the Halo 5 Pro Series, we won a good amount. I still was just like,
I know.
it's not good.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
I know. But that will change.
Yeah.
That will
I'm confident.
change. I mean, we know that it will change.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's in the pipeline. I think, like, just to round off everything that we have been discussing, I think the final topic we'll talk about very quickly is Infinite.
Yeah.
Now, if you do know Snakebite and his YouTube channel, you'll know that he's talked a lot about Infinite, a lot about maybe what to expect, a lot about how to maybe prepare for it. Again, this is all hearsay. This is all like pondering. But if you're going to listen to anybody, I'd listen to him, because obviously, like, there is going to remain some form of Halo-esque type gameplay in the new Halo.
Yeah.
So you can try and prepare yourself in different ways for it. And you can kind of look at the natural progression of Halo games and kind of how that's worked. And hopefully we'll have an inkling of what is to come.
Soon.
With that in mind, we talk about, you talk about the fact that you literally just want this to be a good game. What would make Halo Infinite for you a good game? What would make it a good game?
This question.
It's a hard question.
It is. I have the same answer every time when it comes to this question, and it's I don't know. Because I don't know what makes a good game. And, you know, you like tell me if you feel the same, and, you know, anyone in the comment section, if you made it this far.
I guess maybe what we said right at the beginning.
Yeah.
How you want to play it.
You want to play it, and you know, like it's like an addiction, and you know it's a good game because you just want to keep playing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have such mixed feelings because I love classic Halo and I love professional Halo.
Yeah.
Or not professional. I love classic and I love the new advanced kind of Halo 5 style.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm cool with either. And I just want it to be the best game possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I just want it to succeed. So I know what I want on the esports side, but when it comes to the actual in-game, it's like, give me whatever you need to do to make it as big as it possibly can be.
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't know what makes a good game, but I just hope that the esports side is ready to go.
Yeah.
And the game is ready to be updated and sorted through.
Okay, so we've talked about, like, you know, going into Infinite, and, you know, it can be quite scary when you're kind of like putting the rest of your career on the line for this game because you've been waiting for so long for it.
Absolutely.
But let's just talk about what it does feel like to be there with a game that you love, being at the top, like Worlds. So obviously you've won 2 world championships now. not too shabby. But what is the feeling of getting to that point, winning worlds? Because I know that there was a little bit of controversy, I suppose, with you guys winning worlds and like how you reacted to it. So talk to me about that. Like, what was it like to have that response from fans, from people, the general public, watching you go through that? Because I know it meant a lot to you, but it didn't look that way, right?
Yeah. So basically, like, I've been competing a long time. Obviously, winning $1 million tournament, I'd say that there was significantly more eyes on us. And after we won, I learned that people will be very upset at you if you don't react the way they want you to react.
That's just life, baby.
Yeah. And like, for full clarification, I do understand, because we won a life-changing amount of money, and I think that a lot of people, had they won that amount, they'd be jumping up and down, and a lot of competitors are like that. But
Are you happy though?
Oh yeah, I was unbelievably happy. It was a mix of, I think the reason why I don't react the way other people would per se is because I'm just when it comes to competing, I'm a very stressed out person. I put a lot of high expectation on us. For that event specifically, especially, we were the favorites going into it. Mm-hmm. We were meant to win it.
Just to clarify, which worlds?
The first world championship, the one, that was like the biggest deal, because it was the first time Halo had seen this like massive amount of money. Yeah. Then you go to second world, it's a little bit less, same thing with third, but the first one was like, you didn't know if a second one was coming. Yeah. So you had to win the first one. And we were like favorites to win it. And I was so unbelievably happy, but at the same time, I just felt it's almost like a sigh of relief of like, finally, this is kind of over. And it's a good thing and a bad thing when it comes to me, because I think that's probably why I've been so competitive for so long. But I do wish I was different sometimes and enjoyed those moments of like, yeah.
Okay, so you say like it was the happiest time of your life. Like, I mean, you came into it. It wasn't. No, that wasn't the best moment. One of the best moments of your life at that point.
Oh yeah, at that point. Yeah, at that point.
That's
sure.
what I'm talking about. So at that point for you though, that was like, whoa. Yeah. Hold on a second. Like, best moment of my life right now so far. Why do you think it was that you didn't, and you and the rest of your team, why did you not show emotion? Like, what was the reasoning behind that, do you think?
Yeah, we showed emotion. It just wasn't the way other people would react. I turned and like high-fived Wes. I think I gave like TJ a hug or something like that. Like, wow. Normally we're just like, hey, good game, man. And you've seen it. But for that, it was a little bit, like, we definitely reacted slightly different. We just weren't hopping up and down, super excited. And, I remember being on the stage, and literally, I've told you this story before. I was on the stage when they announced this like pro league after World Champs. My mind immediately went to, oh my God, we got to start getting ready. Like, how long are we going to take off? We can't take that long off, the grind's real. And I'm being like, that I'm being 100% truthful. That's how my mind, when it comes to competing, works. So I think
you're already in somewhere else. You're already like, okay, I need to perform in the next.
I'm trying to get better at it, because it's okay to take a day. In the moment. Yeah, exactly. It's okay. I've learned over time, it's okay to take some time off after the event's over, after you put in the work and it's done. Yeah. It's okay. But like, I just, I look back to a lot of like the competitors that I've played against for a long time, Roy, Lunchbox, Snipe Down, those guys have won a lot against me. Yeah. Going back before this year, or 2016 is what I'm talking about. And I mean, it's just, they were hopping up and down every time they won, super excited, and throwing some woos out there. And like, that's just not me. It's just not us. I get where people are coming from with it. And I can't say if we ever are fortunate enough to win a world championship again, our reaction will be any different. But I guess you just kind of like accept that, It's a
natural reaction. Yeah. Right. And it's not much you can do about it, like, you're not going to be fake when you're up there. Yeah. It's like, it's a real reaction. And I guess it's like, I think maybe a lot of people could maybe realize that, you spent a long time, a lot of hard work. You didn't
win the lottery.
Yeah. You worked hard for that. You're exhausted.
I played for, I think, I don't know how long the game was out. I think it was probably like 5 months or something like that. I played every day other than traveling, I played every day for probably 10 hours a day. Yeah. And our team did not miss, and shout out Halo Data Hive, we did not miss a single day of practice. Like logged, it is logged. We did not miss a day of practice for nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
So like when we win tournaments, it's not, I'm super appreciative. And, you know, everyone who knows me knows that I cannot be happier that we won and that we are in the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think I've gotten better at getting that across my interviews of how happy I really am. But my actual reaction of when we win is like, okay, we did what we were supposed to do. Like, let's go get the next one now.
Okay, well, talking about like winning and stuff, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick topic on it while we're in it, but Infinite. How excited or / nervous are you about the influx of brand new young players? Because we all know like there seems to be quite a pattern of really young talented players that just worm their way through and come out of the woodworks, and suddenly it's like, whoa, a meta change because of how good they are in the game, and they figured stuff out that maybe wouldn't have been figured out by previous pro players or vets that are still playing because they are so used to like one style and one meta. So are you nervous about it or excited?
I think it's like more excited than nervous. To act as though I'm not nervous in the best way would be a lie. I'm always, I say this all the time. I'm not nervous. I'm anxious because I'm not nervous to go compete. I'm just anxious of like, okay, new people are going to come in and try to do this with me. Like, all right, let's go then. But like the waiting of it is way worse than the actual, like when the game's out. I feel really lucky. We were talking about this before. There's a statistic. I forget where I saw it, but across every new Halo game that's came out, I'm sure Call of Duty is somewhat similar. And I don't want to say other games, but Call of Duty, when a new game comes out, 50% of pros are replaced.
Right.
So, you know, I've been a pro.
Scary.
Yeah. So it's very scary. But at the same time, you know, I've been a professional player for 12 years now, going on 13. I'm doing something okay. Yeah. And so it's like, can be terrifying when you look at it in terms of numbers, but I just look at it as I still feel like I'm capable.
Yeah.
And I think that Halo 5 was probably the worst of what the advanced movement was going to be, which caters to, let's say, a younger audience.
Yes.
So if I just keep doing what I did in that time period, which is work really hard and study nonstop and, you know, really take it serious, then, you know, I think I'll be okay. And I hope a new influx of players comes in, because when I step away from the game, whenever that is going to be, could be a couple of years, could be 10, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to be able to look back on like Halo Esports and feel like how I did when I was 13.
Yes.
When I was 13 and became a pro player.
Did you feel like one of those guys at 13? Like, hey, look at me.
I
play the game better than you.
It was very different back then.
Okay.
You weren't respected nearly as... When you were a young pro player back then, you weren't respected. You were looked at as like a dumb kid back then. Where now, I think that because I was like... My whole team, for example, we've all been pro players since we're like 13 to 16. So I think that we have that different outlook that maybe the guys back then didn't have. Right. But, you know, when I step away, I want to be able to like look back and be excited for the 16-year-old that goes pro and sky's the limit and this is your career and this is where you're going to go. Right now, it's like, it's unfortunate watching a lot of great young talent, one, not get the opportunity because there's not a new game, or two, they were pro, aka like Shotzi or something like that, Frosty for a little bit, and they feel the need to leave because it's wasting years.
Yeah. Do you think, like, you know, Second Worlds, not Second Worlds, sorry, the Worlds I was at.
Damn.
When I said Second Worlds, I meant when you got second place.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ouch.
Do you like that? Yeah, it's bad memes. Do you feel
the one
like...
that got away.
The one that got away. Do you feel like that is the reason you guys lost it, because of that influx of new talent? I mean, you had Renegade, you had Shotzi on that team on Splice, and they were playing a different Halo. They were like, you were playing the same game, you were playing a different Halo.
I think
a different
so I can
type of way.
So very shortly, no, I don't think that's why we lost. I think that if that's why we lost, then we wouldn't have went on to win.
Sure.
We went on to win London. The last two events. We won London, we won Atlanta.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things. I'll kind of like sum it up quickly, and I don't want this to sound an excuse, because at the end of the day, they're world champions. We got second.
Yeah.
There were just a lot of things that happened in the game. When we won the last event of 2017, it was Denver's an October event, Denver 2017. We thought we won the last Halo 5 event.
Yeah.
from what we had heard and what we were kind of gathering, we thought we were done.
Sure.
We didn't play the game, and it's our own fault. And that's why I can't stress it enough. It's our fault. But we didn't play the game for 4 months. And then we had stuff going on with OpTic. Like once we started playing, because we found out that there's like this third world championship.
Yeah.
We had this whole deal go down with OpTic where, you know, OpTic wasn't Hex's OpTic anymore. And we were trying to figure out contracts. And it was just like a really stressful time.
Yeah.
So it was partly because it was a new meta came in, but we were no longer like the one who set the meta because we didn't put in the time to do it. Yeah. Like plain and simple, we just didn't. And we didn't, no matter what, even if we ended up winning that third world championship, we wouldn't have deserved it because we did not put in the work. I don't blame us 100% because it's not 100% our fault. There were just a lot of external factors that I wish weren't there, but you know, it is what it is.
I can't swear here, but you know what I would have say? Stuff happens.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. And did you learn from that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You just can't take your foot off the pedal because there's always, you know, I tell people this all the time with Shotzi and Renegade and even that Splice team in general, they were an incredible team. And when they formed, I knew they were going to be incredible. But when you look at like Shotzi minus the one event he won in 2017, he was getting like top 6. Yeah. Renegade was getting like 4th with Straight Rippin'. Like by no means were they like 100% just challenging us that year. Yeah. But then we let off the gas. They went and formed a team with Eco and Stellar, who had been like arguably our toughest competition. Yeah. And because we took our foot off the pedal, we just fell way behind. And credit to them because they took the opportunity. And you know, I'm not saying even if we had played, I'm not saying we would have won, but you know, it's one of those things you learn from it. And even in these like grassroots years where people aren't caring and people aren't, you know, like 2019, for example, you go to grassroots, you go to Halo 3, we were the only team that practiced. Yeah. We didn't need to, but we did it because it's kind of like now ingrained. Like I don't want to lose. I don't ever want to lose and be like,
had that feeling.
I don't ever want to lose and be like, well, we just didn't play enough.
Yes. Yeah. You want to lose just because you literally couldn't have done it.
And it happened. We lost plenty of times in our career from 2016 to 2018. You know, we'd lose.
You did everything.
The odd event. Yeah. You know, we get upset, and there's a different like acceptance to it. We would lose, and I'd be mad, but I was like okay with it at the same time because we did everything possible to win that event. But when you lose the event because you didn't put in enough time or you didn't practice or maybe you knew something was wrong with your game and you didn't fix it, it is infuriating. Yeah. Because you didn't necessarily lose because of your capability. You lost because of your lack of preparation and your lack of like care.
Talking about lack of care, you know, obviously like combining everything all together, the youngsters, reactions, lack of caring brings me to a thing that I think about every time. And I'm obviously just messing because it does make me giggle when I think about it. Yeah. But I've got to say, Seattle Worlds, Splice, do it to you. Yeah. Sorry.
It was a rough final. It was very rough.
First time that I, you know, got my shot at Halo, I was interviewing.
That's where we met.
It was where we met. And
I won.
He's a real winner. Just joking. I was the winner. And I get on stage to do the interview. Yeah. The World Championship team interview. And their initial reaction after winning a fat bag. And they whip out this button. I'm sure you guys remember it. That was easy button. And I was mortified on stage because I wasn't expecting that. I knew they were, you know, there was some youngsters on the team. Yeah. We had like Eco on the team as well. It's Stella. They'd been around. I was not expecting that kind of level of, I don't know, just, I wouldn't say disrespect because it's not disrespectful to me. You know, it is what it is. They're trying to have fun. I get that. But I think it was more so like, I was very shocked. Yeah. And like, they had just won. You'd won. You'd won a lot of money. You'd won a lot of reputation, a lot of respect. And that was honestly how you wanted to be remembered. Yeah. At that interview. It was really tough. What did you make of it? Because obviously you watched it happen.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, you didn't actually see it happen?
You got told. We lose. I let other people.
Especially at a time like that,
I let other people have their moment. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, I'll see it.
So you were told, did you watch it back?
No. I never went back and watched that. I will go, like, I'll go back and watch every game that we lose, but, like, I don't watch, like, a post-game interview, you know? I'm not necessarily learning
Especially
from
when
that.
it's like, that was disrespectful to you guys to a degree, obviously, but I mean, it's like...
I didn't mind.
I think as a young person...
That's how I looked at it. It's young kids.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, but they're young kids, right?
Yeah.
But they just, like, they achieve something so incredible for their age, and to do it like that as well, to take you guys down, to double world champions, you know, you were also going for the 3P. That was huge to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, like, bring you down.
No, it's okay.
But, like, to actually then say that, like, on stage, that is what you wanted to say. It's just, I don't know, it's a bit strange to me.
I think that you can look at it two ways, and I think that you can look at it two ways, and it's both a good thing and a bad thing.
Right.
Because it's a bad thing because it's certainly not being necessarily a role. You're not being what's expected. You're not being a role model of, well, we worked hard and, you know, I'm so happy with my team. And that's kind of like what people expect when you win. And I, again, 100% understand that part of it. But it's also just like, it was just them being them. And they're young kids. And even like Stellar and Eco, right? Eco, I don't know how old Kevin was at the time. He was like older, you know. Kevin's above 20 at that point. I think he's probably like 24 at that point. And Braden, being Stellar, I think he probably was like 20 as well.
Okay, so quite young.
But yeah, like still young. But they just like hadn't been in the spotlight. Like it takes a little bit to learn. Like, okay, I'm in the spotlight now, and I need to like clean up my act a little bit. And we were there. We were there. Yeah. Like we said dumb stuff on stream, like talking trash to people. It's very different. I know. In
front of all those people with a trophy and then a bag in your hand.
It's kids being kids, though.
It's true.
You know?
It's just hard because they like, it wasn't even done in the best joking way.
I know.
It was just like a little giggle fest of like children.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how I saw it. I mean,
they didn't hit it once and then answer like the question. It was just like,
it was like, that was all they would say.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, kill me now.
I think part of it, honestly though, I think part of it, it's why they were able to beat us, because they didn't care. They didn't care. Yeah, they set their meta and the way they wanted to play, and they didn't care. They didn't care about anything else. They didn't care about what they were supposed to act like, what they were supposed to do. They just did it their way. Yeah. And I mean, I want to act like it was appropriate for the stage, you know, for that magnitude of an event.
But definitely got remembered though.
But I'm sure it's a learning experience. You know, Shotzi's been around a long time, or not a long time, but he's been winning consistently now. Yeah. You know, after that year, he goes to Call of Duty. All good from what I've seen from him. Seems like a mature young kid for the most part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's come a long way.
Yeah.
No. It's interesting because it's just like, for me, just being like, you know, selfish in this part, just my job and stuff. It's not ideal. It's just not ideal. And it taught me a lot as well, because like I think now I would have a joke with it, and I'd not even make fun of them, but just be very quiet.
I think part
I even did that.
I think part of it though is it showed the need for there to be media training and people to feel for professional players to feel comfortable in front of a camera, because they all, and I'm not saying this is in a bad way, it's a very sincere way, they all had a hard time with that. They never felt comfortable in front of a camera. They never felt comfortable being interviewed. To the point when I teamed with Eco, he was like, how do I get people to like me? Like, what am I doing wrong?
Be yourself.
And I was like, dude, just be yourself. You know, like, and then like they would ask me questions about like, how do I answer an interview correctly? Yeah. And it's like, those are all things for the level of player they are. They should have already known it, but they didn't. And I think that's what I remember. Also, like, I don't want to like call them out, you know. Regionals, we're going to the finals against Splice. We actually beat them at regionals in the winners semis. And no, we got stomped. We got like 8-0'd in the finals, so no. Golden Boy is interviewing me, and he's interviewing Renegade. And obviously he knows Renegade is...
What, pre-game?
Yeah, like pre-finals.
Okay.
So he goes, okay, this is going to be the question. He doesn't even say it to me. He knows, I know Golden Boy, so he's like, I don't need to worry about you. Like, I know you know what you're going to say. Yeah. He goes, John, Renegade, I'm going to say this. Have your answer ready. What are you going to say? Not even joking. It was like 2 seconds before it's about to go live. He goes, I don't know. So, and then like he ended up getting an answer out.
Right.
But the point being, something you do really well, something I think Golden Boy did really well. Prep. And
you can tell when something's uncomfortable.
Exactly. But I think that's a big.
It was shocked to see
Yeah.
the first ever interview he'd ever did. I'm pretty sure he was with me at Worlds properly, and he was terrified. And he even told me that. And I said, look, you know, you just talk to me. Not a big deal. Forget the camera.
Yeah.
We're having a chat. And he did great.
Yeah.
And I think when you remember to do that, then you're fine. Because all we want from you, we don't want. Your answer doesn't have to be super intelligent and cohesive at all. We just want you to be yourself, and it's a snippet of what you're thinking and who you are. So like, you know, it's not there to be judgmental, and it's not there to test you. It's literally just to find out how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what was behind that.
It does take some time.
It does.
Because even though you don't want that, like it's not meant to be, like, you're not being judged, right? Like when you interview someone, you're not judging them.
No, never.
But as a professional player, you don't choose the spotlight. You automatically get put in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I'm not going to act like it wasn't intimidating the first time I went and did an interview on a stage in front of, I don't know how many people. And then on top of that, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then on top of that, you know how many thousands of people are watching, and it's like, okay.
Well, you haven't come here to be the best interviewer
in
the world.
Exactly.
You've come here to be the best player in the world.
Exactly.
You know, so it's different, but it is one of those things, and it happens in traditional sports as well, but it starts to become part and parcel, isn't it? Like media and interviews and all sorts of things, like content. I mean, look at the Call of Duty teams now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are.
I won't be nervous.
They're in all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the CDL and look at the
picture
and the
esports picture
and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the posing and stuff like that. You can tell. I think you can tell to a certain degree some of them don't feel comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Especially in season 1, but season 2 it's vamped up quite a lot, and they've become a little bit more like comfortable with it. And you see a bit of their personality in it. But
I'm guilty though.
I was interviewing him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He could see like the trailer of you know the interview I was about to do with him before you headed into break, and he was like, "Oh my god, that is so awkward." Oh my gosh, like he was mortified watching himself do it. And yeah, I mean, hey look, when I watch stuff back of me, aren't I? I'm like, oh my god, kill me. I hate it. But it's part of the thing that you're doing. It's part of your career, and it gets easier. It does get easier. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become, and it gets a little easier for sure.
100%, no doubt.
I mean, we've had a good run on this podcast.
We have. Great first episode.
Yeah.
I feel like I could talk for another hour.
Right? I know.
That's why we started the podcast, though. All right? That's why we started the podcast, because we could talk about everything forever. But now we just got to break it up a little bit.
We do. We have to break up. I also want to mention, though, as well, obviously we have social media for our podcast and our podcast, and you can reach us there if you have any questions, or, you know, you just want to get involved and have your say on what you think each week. But please feel free to tweet us or message us. Anything, leave a comment below, whatever it may be, whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's Spotify,
listening.
iTunes, whatever, YouTube.
To see or listening on.
Yeah, listening, exactly. You know, let us know. You can always reach us on our Twitter, and I'll put it on the screen for you guys here as well. But give us some topics. If you guys want to hear us talk about certain things, you've got a question, a pressing question, let me know with a ton of exclamation marks and question marks, please. But yeah, just let us know, because we're happy to talk about whatever it is, happy to answer questions, right? And if you have questions on what we've spoken about in a week. Yeah,
it could be questions about esports. Yeah. Like we said, like we want this to be about everything. Yeah, so it could be questions about things. It could be questions about things in esports, you know, both of our careers, our life, just our life in general. You know, obviously we don't get too personal, but I mean, like, we don't really care too much, obviously, of, you know, appropriate questions to talk about, you know, how we met, stuff like that. Yeah, we talk about it all. You know, let us know.
Yeah, please do let us know. I think we need to rate the coffee.
Oh, we're rating the coffee?
Yeah, so Colombia Adventure Weight coffee. It tastes like a bold roast to me.
Yeah.
Like deep, bold, probably a little
bit
nutty.
Isn't it dark? Is it dark roast? That's what it's called, dark roast.
I think it's dark. There's also bold, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, we'll have to get better at lingo or coffee terminology. Yeah. We're just going to be here like, tastes like a summer breeze.
I will become a professional.
Roast.
I will become a professional coffee taster.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, decent, that really decent. If you really do like a strong coffee, put some hairs on your chest and wake you up in the morning for sure within the first 3 sips. This one's your guy. Cute little toucan on the front as well.
Just smacked it.
But we need to rate it. You want to rate it?
You go first.
Okay. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Solid 7. It's lovely. I do like a strong cup of coffee.
You do.
I don't like it too strong, where I'm almost like
really
a bit too wired. Yeah, but
I feel like you always want a strong coffee.
I do like strong.
Yeah.
But I think this is a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I do enjoy it. I like that. Some seriously good climbers had to go 6,100 feet up a mountain to get this for me. It's very exclusive.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can get this at the store and online and stuff. But very cool. Really like it. And the packaging is really cute too.
It is.
You feel like you're in a rainforest, doesn't it?
I'd say 7.5 for me.
7.5.
Yeah, I threw in the 0.5 because it's a little bit of a disclaimer. It's a 7.5 if you like a dark roast coffee.
Yeah, okay.
If you don't, you're not gonna. It's not for you. Yeah. But you got to know what kind of coffee you like, and then you got to go get it. Yeah, so 7.5.
Solid one. We'll have to try another one next week. And also, if you have any suggestions of coffees you want us to try,
yeah, please do.
And you're too scared to, let us know, because we will drink literally anything on this podcast. But that is going to do it for episode 1 of 2 Times the Grind. We are honestly so thankful for you joining us and watching and tuning in and listening. Appreciate you so much. Next week we'll have brand new topics to talk about. I'm sure it'll be more about the Call of Duty League, a little bit more on Halo, I'm sure, as well. And if you guys have anything to add, then please do let us know. But until then, thank you so much for watching.
See you next week.
Stay on the ground.